Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm D. Hizzy.
And this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and give ourselves rap names, apparently.
D. Hizzy in the house.
Hizzy.
In the Hizzy.
D. Hizzy in the Hizzy. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. I got really sunburnt gardening today, so I don't think it shows up on camera, so it's good. We're good.
Well, I think the red light kind of makes it so you can't notice. Good thinking.
Just balances it out. It's mostly my arms, anyways.
Let's see.
Can you tell?
Yeah, they're a little red.
You can't tell.
They're a little red. Right there.
It's
my God.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah. You can definitely tell right there.
It
burns.
You're lobstered up.
Yeah, I'm a lobster.
How about you, Derek?
I'm doing pretty good. We are officially going to put our house up for sale. So by the time this airs, we'll actually have had it up for sale for like 4 or 5 days. So
yes, that is great news. And on my front, by the time this airs, the premiere will be a week from 5 days from when this premieres. So contact us to get your tickets if we're not sold out yet, and join us for the premiere of Secret Admirer. The edit's done. Everything's good to go. It's exciting stuff, right, guys?
I'm so excited. Can't even tell you how excited.
It's coming together pretty good. If I do say so myself. So, guys, we've got actually a good amount of horror news to get into. So let's start this episode like we do every week and get into the horror news. I figured we'd just get it out of the way right here at the start on Jump Street. We got some more Munsters news.
It got canceled.
Gosh.
No, it did not get canceled. He has another look at the leads of the movie. You guys want to see?
Bring it on.
Another look at the leads of the movie. Jamie, what are you showing us right now?
I'm showing you the good stuff. Here we go.
Better be good. Or I'm gonna start to think you're obsessed
you guys
with
see
the
it?
monsters.
Can you guys see it?
Yep.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
What do you guys think?
Summer Frankenstein.
Yep. Summer Herman.
They look like wax figures.
They kind of do. The lighting is amazing.
Yeah, it does look really good.
Who's playing Herman?
Yeah, what's going on with Herman?
Herman is played by Jeff Daniel Phillips. Of course, Sherry Moon Zombie is playing Lily.
Of course. You should
and
bring
Daniel
up
Roebuck is the Count. And the Grandpa, I think,
regular
looks the
picture.
Best, right?
Bring up a regular
definitely.
picture of Herman.
Of that guy?
Yeah.
Or of Herman
like
Munster?
I can't of the actor who plays Herman.
Oh, okay. It is Jeff Daniel Phillips. Okay. Here's what he looks like regularly.
Oh.
You guys know him.
Yeah, okay.
From
Yep.
other... What is he in?
He is in some other stuff.
He looks a
Rob
little
Zombie
bit like
movies?
Sacha Cohen Baron. A little
In
bit.
that picture
Close.
he does.
Yeah, in that
Close.
picture he does.
You're close on his name, but
You get the 3 names.
yep. Yeah, he does. So that's what do you guys think of that?
Okay. All right. I mean, that guy is obviously no Fred Gwynn.
Well, nobody's Fred Gwynn. Sometimes dead is better. But you know, he's all right.
mean, maybe there's just one person out there that resembles him a little bit.
A little bit more, yeah.
He's got to
Probably
have
just a
like
terrible actor,
have had kids,
right? Yeah,
that,
like
kind
his
of look
son.
like
If
him.
his son just looked just like him or something.
But we'll see how it is. I want to hear him talk. Because that's a very important aspect of Herman is Herman's voice and the way he presents himself.
Yeah.
I feel like if he tries to do that voice, that's. I don't know that I would try to play the character that way. I would try to just make it my own at that point.
Maybe
it's so
not
distinct.
Maybe not exact impersonation, but you need to capture the spirit of that, of who that is, because that's the essence of that character. Yeah. Something, where you at least kind of embody that goofiness, because that's what Herman is. Goofy. Herman is goofy and sweet. That's who Herman is. So they've got to understand that.
Did either one? And maybe I've asked this question before. It feels a little bit like deja vu, but did either one of you watch any of the 1313 Mockingbird Lane that they tried to reboot like 5 years ago?
Yeah, with
Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah, and Eddie Izzard.
Portia Baylor.
The Rossi. Yep.
The Rossi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never saw it. It looks terrible.
It wasn't Munstersville for me, so
we'll put a picture of that right here for everybody to see.
There it is. So, guys, this is news. It's a movie that we'll probably never cover on this podcast, but Jeepers Creepers Reborn appears to be caught up in a property fraud lawsuit.
Ooh.
The alleged breach of a right of first negotiation and last refusal for worldwide distribution rights to subsequent productions of the horror franchise Jeepers Creepers. Basically, one company, Myriad Pictures, alleges in a complaint that they had the first negotiation and last refusal for the worldwide distribution of this movie. However, they didn't get that. So it's caught up in a lawsuit, which we here on Screen Bloody Movies are super familiar with horror movie lawsuits at this point, unfortunately, because we haven't got a new goddamn Jason movie, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know what? Real quick before we move past this is a good property, I think, to reboot. If they could ever work out the rights, but the story's got to be right. If they did something like what they did with the Fear Street series that they put on Netflix, where they like started in present day. Actually, I guess it was still a little bit in the past. And then like went back to like fill in the backstory. Like that would be so cool. Because the lore of that creature is something that's kind of missing from.
Yeah, like every 23 years and showing them all. That would be
really cool. Going back a couple hundred years or something.
I just have a hard time getting behind any kind of Jeepers Creepers property. Especially if Victor Salva is going to be paid anything
profiting from it.
Yeah. Then if that's the case, then no bueno. Just cut that out. I mean, he definitely put the creeper in Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, for sure. Which sucks too, because that is such a freaking cool movie. And cool
the first one's a cool movie for sure. The second one is an interesting movie. And the third one is just fucking terrible. Just flat out awful. Oh my god.
And part of it's like he deserves to have his movie just like
be awful
in the dirt. Just like dragged through the dirt in the ground. Like
that is one of the worst. I usually don't use the word terrible when describing a movie. I try to be more respectful than that. But with that movie, it's just terrible. There's
it's so bad.
It is beyond anything I've ever seen.
It's incredibly terrible, actually.
Yeah, I feel no remorse in using that word.
No. And if you think we're being harsh, just put it on.
Watch it.
Try it. We dare you. Try. You won't make it.
I mean, I would rather watch Lumberjack Man than Jeepers Creepers 2.
Me too. Yeah. Any day.
Any day.
One day you and I should sit down and brainstorm. I mean, for no reason other than just, bounce some ideas off. But I've got some great ideas. We should talk about that.
For what? Jeepers Creepers?
What we would do with it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just thought you meant in general. I was like, Derek, we do that all the time. That's how we make movies.
No, so no one knows this, and I'm just going to throw it out there because nothing will ever really come of it. But you and I had some really great ideas because there was talk that they might reboot the Nightmare on Elm Street. And you and I came up, I think, with a really good concept to reboot that. And so yeah, that's just a fun exercise to do in general. I would
wrote a spec script
doing it with that movie.
Wrote a spec script for it, but just an exercise in what we could do. So yeah.
And if anybody's out there and they're like, I want to bounce some ideas off of us, and they want us to do their movie, just somebody message us. We'd be willing
after
to
we do these next ones that we have lined up already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. As you know, Doctor Strange came out this past weekend, and monster success. Sam Raimi's on top of the world again. So Sam Raimi is in the news, which is glorious because we are all Sam Raimi fanboys here in this podcast and fangirl video. But we are huge Sam Raimi acolytes. Am I wrong on that?
Nope.
Not wrong.
So I got a couple bits of Sam Raimi news for you. Let's start with this one. Sam Raimi says Universal is talking about a Darkman sequel.
I have heard this.
With Liam Neeson. What are your guys' thoughts on Sam Raimi directing a legacy sequel to Darkman with Liam Neeson?
He was in the news not recently, but like within the last couple of years, because he had a really terrible interview where he disclosed some things that you probably don't want to make public, but like he knew that they were wrong and he sought therapy for that. So, I mean, I'm not going to judge him for it, but he's getting a little old. I don't know how I feel about that. He's still doing action movies. I don't know. Harrison Ford just did Indiana Jones 5. Yeah.
But Harrison Ford's a different breed.
He is.
He's a different breed. But I'm excited. I'd be excited to see a Sam Raimi directed Darkman sequel. They made a couple of really bad direct-to-video sequels that weren't very good. Starred the Mummy in them, Arno Vosloo, as...
Did Sam Raimi direct all of the Darkman movies?
No, only the first one. He wrote and directed the first one, and then Universal had the rights, and they made these sequels. Like, he was attached as producer, but they were these my favorite is this. So there's one that was like The Return of Durant, and then the third one has my favorite title ever, which is Darkman 3. Die, Darkman, die.
Oh my gosh.
I remember always seeing the trailer for it on one of my VHSs, and I was like, I don't think that looks very good. But while we're talking about Mr. Raimi, it looks like his next movie could be...
Spider-Man?
No, a intense little horror movie. He says, Slash Film asked Raimi if he would like to make another small movie, something the size of The Gift or one of the Evil Dead movies, or if he's comfortable with the big stuff. He said, I like all of them, actually. Each presents its own unique challenges to the filmmaker, and each is incredibly satisfying. I wouldn't want to go back to the budget of the first Evil Dead. I mean, that was brutal. That was extremely difficult. But I would like to do something the size of The Gift or A Simple Plan. Those smaller budget movies that are just about characters and thrills. An intense little horror movie would be great. How would you guys feel about Sam Raimi directing an intense little horror movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be
all. That's what we're here for.
Is there anything to revisit with Drag Me to Hell?
No, I mean, besides us reviewing it, which we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick it up somewhere. I mean, that creature is still out there and everything, and the curse lives on. But if somebody else is cursed, but
Drag Me Out of Hell.
yeah, Drag Me to Hell
I liked that.
is
I liked
great.
that movie.
We'll definitely review that.
Was sad.
Yeah, that was a fun movie.
That's a super, super fun movie. Love it. I went to the theaters and saw it. We'll talk about that when we review it.
I think you and I went to the movies to see that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but either way, it is a good movie. I enjoyed it.
So, guys, this next little bit is an update on the Nun 2 that we mentioned last time. So we now know what the setting is. It will take place during 1956 and will be filmed in France. It says 1956 France. A priest is murdered. And evil is spreading. The sequel to the worldwide smash hit The Nun follows Sister Irene as she once again comes face to face with the demonic force Valak. So she's returning as that same nun, as the sister. What do you guys think of that?
So I would need to see like a outline of like where everything falls in line, because they have a direct tie from the Nun to the original title.
Yes, the first Conjuring movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a direct link to it.
There is.
And so,
like, I mean, the end of the Nun kind of flows into the beginning of the flashback to the Conjuring. Her backstory ties in directly. So who knows? So I don't know how it's going to play out, but
because Frenchie's definitely going to have to. Is it Frenchie?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Either way, he's going to have to be the person who. Not if I don't want to spoil it, and we've already went over it, but yeah, I don't know. I need to see what the timeline looks like to see where everything kind of falls in place.
Are you still super skeptical about this, Lydia?
Can you tell by my face right now?
I can.
Yes, I am definitely so skeptical. I'm so skeptical. Oh my gosh, guys. It just that movie really beat me down. I had a rough time with that movie. So I'm like, I mean, maybe it couldn't be worse. You know, maybe. Hopefully it's better. But
yeah. I mean, there's parts of it that I think are fine. I think the first half of the movie is pretty solid, pretty good suspense.
I felt that way too.
And then it just becomes silly.
It's so
silly. I went to the movies to see that and was disappointed. I mean, we'll discuss that when we get to those. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that they're continuing her character. I think it's cool that she gets another story. And you know, I'm cautiously optimistic, but that's just my natural mode. I'm always cautiously optimistic about new movies. So I try to give the benefit of the doubt.
And I think that's what it was that I wasn't very cautious going into it because of how well the nun was portrayed already going into that and how terrifying and
well, I mean, it's kind of
that character was.
It's kind of the laws of diminishing returns, right? I mean, the first Conjuring. I mean, so the first Conjuring was a smash hit, and Annabelle was so loved that they made a spinoff, and it wasn't very good because we're like concentrating solely on her, wasn't as good. And then they did the same thing with the Nun, huge hit character, tried to spin off on her, it wasn't good. But the sequel to Annabelle is solid, very good.
Yeah.
So maybe the sequel to The Nun will continue that pattern. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
I did see where they're going to make another Conjuring movie with Ed and Lorraine, I'm pretty sure.
They're definitely in talks about it, of a fourth one.
Yeah.
I said they just need to keep making them all the time. because I mean, even if they're less than good than the other ones, I still just enjoy watching their characters interact with each other. So
They've got really good chemistry.
yeah, yeah, unbeatable chemistry. So I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm here for
Yeah.
it. All right, this last bit of horror news is regarding the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game that Gun Media is putting out. As you know, Gun Media is the same company that put out the Friday the 13th game. So this new little bit of news we have is Ed Neal, who plays the hitchhiker from the original from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is returning to voice the hitchhiker in this game. Here's a little synopsis for the game. When Maria Flores went missing, local law enforcement seemed to stall out in their search. Her younger sister Anna teamed up with some of Maria's friends from college to pick up the trail. It's time for you to meet our cast of victims. Oh! What do you guys think of that as a setup for a Texas game?
Yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know when I'd ever have time to play it, but hey, sounds fun.
Well, the Evil Dead game comes out on the 21st or the 20th. So basically the weekend of the premiere, the Evil Dead game releases. So if I didn't have the premiere, I'd be playing the Evil Dead game.
Yeah, I can't wait till Clark is old enough to it'll be a while before he's able to play those types of games, but it'll just be fun to introduce him.
I remember playing Nightmare on Elm Street on the NES back in the day.
Yeah, but man, those games were
not good.
Yeah.
But
it's so
I remember
different
just being
now.
so excited. I was like, in the Friday the 13th, the most disappointed was playing the Friday the 13th game.
Why? Because you could never win?
Well, because it's hard and terrible, and you have that rock that arches over people's heads, and it plays that weird music. All right, and that wraps up the horror news, guys. So let's get into tonight's movie. Lydia, you picked this one. This is John Landis's classic werewolf story, American Werewolf in London. Let's do our normal thing and tell each other our American Werewolf in London stories. Let's start with you, Lydia, since you picked it.
I actually don't really have a good story for this one. I just saw that it was a classic, online somewhere, and was like, I better go get that. So I found it somewhere, don't even remember, just had it all of a sudden. And then I do remember the first watch just falling completely in love with this movie. That's all I remember. It's just instant classic for me. So
Derek, this isn't your first time seeing this either, yeah?
Oh, I mean, my 51st time seeing this movie. It's hard because we grew up on these movies, and so to try to think of the first time that you saw it is just, it's impossible. I remember this being on, TV, and every Halloween or around that time, it would just be one of those that would be on, one of the networks, and you just watch it. So, I mean, obviously there's more gore watching it,
and nudity.
Yeah.
And breasts. And male nudity as well. Just nudity.
Yeah, and male nudity.
Just nudity.
So, there's some wrinkles in there with those aspects. But I can't remember the first time I saw this movie. I can tell you one thing. It's memorable. You don't forget some of the scenes in this movie.
Yes,
and
it is.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into it. It's got some really good meat, per se.
No pun intended. I'm with you guys. I do not remember the first time I saw this movie. I just remember it's almost like I felt like I was born and had already seen it, because it just was You know what I mean? Like Derek said, it was on all the time, and I remember watching it all the time when I was younger, and the edited version, of course. And then I remember renting it on VHS and watching the unedited version, and being like, "Oh my god!" And then I remember watching it in widescreen for the first time on DVD, and I was like, "Oh my god!" This is what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, it's the same thing for me. It's one of those movies that has always been there, and it's always been a linchpin of like special effects, wizardry, and a linchpin of riding the line of horror and comedy like very well. I mean, this is proto Hatchet. This is what Adam Green's inspiration for Hatchet is this fine line of horror and comedy, which I think he perfected once we got into the Hatchet movies. But yeah, love talking about this one, so let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about, where do you guys want to start? Just at the beginning?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because, I mean, if you wanted to, we can just talk about the wolf himself first, or we can just get into it. What do you want to do?
Yeah, either way. It's all so good. I really love the opening scene so much.
Yeah, it's a great one because it sets the tone perfectly for that style, the horror and comedy. Yeah.
And something about that tone of like everything about it, it's so freaking beautiful. It really is so relatable.
These characters are super relatable, and the leads are charming. Like you just, as soon as you meet them, you instantly like them. You're like, oh, these are just average, American boys.
For sure. And they also have, it doesn't hurt that they have great chemistry.
Yeah.
Like the two of them. Because,
cast.
That doesn't always happen. Yeah. And that can make for, especially with some of the banter that they have, it could make that kind of awkward. But it felt like they had a long time friendship.
Yeah, that they were actually really good friends. Yeah. So, we're introduced to David and Jack, who are amazing, played by David Naughton and Griffin Dunn, of course. And they are like backpacking through London or through England. They're just backpacking. And when we first meet them, they're hitching a ride with the sheep truck. And I love how it opens with Blue Moon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And those shots of the moors are like very, very beautiful.
Oh man, it made me want to be there.
Yeah. Except for what happens later. Then I was like, nah, maybe I don't want to be there.
I still want to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe just hang out at the Slaughtered Lamb. We'll just stay in the Slaughtered Lamb. We'll be fine.
That's so fun.
But their chemistry together, their banter when they first get off the truck and start talking to each other is great.
Yeah. I like how he says, "Bye, ladies," to the sheep.
Yeah. And then it was like one of them shit in my backpack.
Yeah.
They have that great talk about the girl he has a crush on. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "That's the woman I love." No, it's the woman you're trying to fuck. It's not the same thing. Yeah. And they go through that whole banter is really funny. And then they end up at the Slaughtered Lamb, which, by the way, guys, the Slaughtered Lamb is amazing, right?
Yes.
Like, what a great location filled with some wonderful faces. Like, these character actors they got in this thing are wonderful. You feel like they're real. They live there. And the sign, the Slaughtered Lamb sign, is hilarious with this like pale wolf's head.
Yes. He's like, "Where's the lamb?"
It's getting cold inside.
Yeah.
Of which they served no food. No
food
whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny is they walk in, and immediately when they walk in, they're like outsiders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody just kind of stops and looks at them. And he's like, can we come in? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then when they start telling the story, because he's like, there's a there's a 5-pointed star on the wall. And he's like, so what does that mean? They're from Texas, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Which sets up
remember the Alamo.
Yeah, remember the Alamo. She's like, I remember the Alamo. I saw it in, at downtown or whatever. And he's like, he means a John Wayne movie. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yes. This part, like, that banter is fine. There's a point where like they're telling a story, and like it just, I wasn't a fan of like that specific like banter that they were having, because the characters, like, for the parts that they were playing, small town, stick to yourselves, they've got a secret and all those things, like these are the outsiders. They did a great job of portraying that, but it just seemed like the content of the story was a little weak.
Well, you mean his terribly racist joke that he tells?
Well, that's one of them, yeah, about the airplane and
yeah.
But anyway,
so yeah, I love when. So then, basically, he says, "Why is there? What's with this 5-pointed star? What's going on here?" And immediately, like, the whole room changes. Oh boy, that's shooting darts misses for the first time in his life. You made me miss. I never miss.
Never miss that board.
Yeah. And so basically they get run out of the slaughtered lamb. And the woman the barkeep is like, we can't let them go out there.
Yeah.
It's like, but you should go.
Remorse.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, she's not the only one, we find out. Because, so they go on their little jaunt. And guys, what do you think of the first wolf attack?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It's so good. Well, because like they were told they had two things: stick to the road, and what was the other thing?
Mind the moon, basically.
Beware the moon.
Mind the moon and stick to the road. And
they immediately veer off path to the moors. When I was watching it today, I was like, oh, like, like you literally just immediately started running through me being me, I would have been on the roads regardless. So I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I don't want to get attacked by anything. I don't want to be shot by some like small town village farmer.
Yeah.
But they immediately onto the road or on into the moors, and this scene is so good. It's so like intense and funny. It's everything.
Yeah.
Because we get the cutting back and forth with them in the slaughtered lamb, and her basically browbeating them, saying, "We can't leave them out there." And he's like, "Well, what? We can't have them to know our business." And he's like, "Then murder." And he's like, "Well, then murder it is." And then she's like, "We got to go out there. We can't leave them out there." And the banter continues. They fall, like when the wolf's like howling around them, and they're like kind of looking back around, is so good. Just setting the tone. So good.
The lighting, the rain, their like their costume, their wardrobe, like the guys themselves. Like, this is such an iconic scene for me.
I love it. Their wardrobe, by the way. Just to say, I love those puffer jackets. Great.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What a great
blue and the red.
Blue and the red. Yep. Beautiful.
So cool.
So yeah, we don't really get to see the wolf very much when we see the first attack.
You just hear it
because Jack gets demolished by this thing.
Yeah,
and
he's blindsided.
Yeah, blindsided. We see the feathers flying up, which is a great touch. And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, then David takes off and then realizes that Jack's there, so goes back for him, and he's just laying in like this ripped up, bloody heap. What were you gonna say, Derek?
I was gonna say that. What was I gonna say? Well, darn.
Well, when you think about it, raise your hand and I'll get back to you. And then he's attacked by the wolf, and then the wolf is shot by the people at the slaughtered lamb.
Who we don't know have decided back, it doesn't show us that they decide we have to go out and try to save them. Like, we have to get them back in here to safety. It's like a sudden, like, oh my gosh, now they're all here. Like, all of a sudden.
What a crackerjack opening, right?
Yeah, so crazy. And when he looks over and sees there's just like
the old man
that's been shot. Yeah.
And, that cut where we just see running in the woods.
Yeah.
And we have no context for it. And then he wakes up and he's in the hospital.
I remember now what I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
So I think it was a good choice to not, and probably for a lot of reasons. I mean, I'm sure budget-wise it made sense, but like to keep the mystique of the wolf.
Oh yeah.
Hidden, especially
until that transformation scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a really good play on their behalf. I'm sure it saved them a ton of money, but it also just added to like the mystique of, well, what does this thing really look like? How big was it? Because, when we get to the hospital, they reference that the other guy like was thrashed.
Yeah.
And that, it must take a big, strong person to take on, two guys and stuff like that. So it was a good decision.
At the hospital, this whole hospital bit, we're introduced to, throughout all these hospital scenes, we're introduced to multiple different characters. We're introduced to Nurse Price, Alex, and she is basically kind of already has a crush on him as soon as she kind of sees him. So she's his caretaker. And then we have the doctor, Dr. Hirsch? Yeah, Dr. Hirsch. And then we're introduced to the two detectives, Inspector Villers and Sergeant McManus. And I want to talk about these two detective characters first, because I think Sergeant McManus is fucking hilarious. Right? He's so funny. Like, his tie is all messed up. Like, one end is way shorter than the other. So it's like all jacked up. And he's trying to be like, here's what's fun, is he's actually intelligent, but it's like a idiot at the same time. He's getting beat down by his superior. So anything he says is like thrown out.
He's clumsy.
He's clumsy. When he knocks over the trays and they all fall over and he's trying to fit them back together, is pretty hilarious.
It was so funny how casual he is once he picks them. He just kind of was like, yep. That didn't happen.
What do you guys think of these two characters?
I think they're good. I think they're great. And yeah, he is hilarious. There's another point. I think it's later in the movie when they're like in that same office and they're having a conversation, and the one guy leaves and shuts the door, and he like says something, and then he turns around and he like almost runs into the door. So there's really good timing with those two, but not to be overlooked.
He says, he says, we'll find him. I promise. And then he just turns around into the door like an idiot.
Yeah. But not to be overlooked, the conversation that the doctor is having with the person, his secretary, is really hilarious. Tell him I'm dead.
Tell him I died.
I love this doctor.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love him. He's super well cast. He just feels like he is a member of that, like just he lives there. He lives in London. And he's just and he's kind of our like the best thing we have to like a Claude Rains character trying to figure out what's going on. You know, so he's investigating this, and he has a vested interest because he cares about this boy that was left in his care, and he's like, there's some things that don't make sense, like, you know, his wounds were dressed when he got here. How? They said that there's 2 witnesses, but who are they? So he's skeptical of it to begin with.
Well, and he takes the kind of the opposite approach of the police officers, because David, once he wakes up from his coma, he's trying to tell them, like, my memory is fine. This is not what happened. And the
I was attacked by an animal.
Like, yeah, they're like, no, we have witnesses and things like that. And at first, the doctor does kind of take their that position as well. But then you can see, like, he's starting to piece this together, like, you know, that doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make sense either. And then he goes on his own little journey.
This kid is telling me this, yeah. And then, so let's talk about Nurse Price. What do you guys think of Alex?
Love her.
Yep.
She's amazing.
She's
super sweet and caring and tender and beautiful and all the things that you want your nurse to be.
And she's horny.
You know,
she wants some of that David D.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's 2 scenes in this movie that made me feel like, not terrible, that's not the word, but like they were really touching and sad. And she has one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I love her too. She's great, very strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, sweet, like you said. And especially her scenes with the little boy that keeps shouting no at her.
Yeah. They really make you like her a lot.
Yeah,
these
they
do. These little things, like.
So in these hospital scenes, let's just talk about basically just talk about this hospital section as one whole piece, and whatever you guys want to talk about next, we'll talk about. But let's talk about his first dream sequence, where he's running in the woods.
Yeah. Naked.
Naked.
Is that the naked one, or was the first one the naked one?
No, this is the naked one. Okay. The first one we just see a POV of nothing, and then the second one he's naked and attacks the doe and eating its flesh. Like, very disturbing and weird and super dreamlike. But then the next scene, he says he's not hungry. Now, is he not hungry because he dreamed that? Or did it happen? It didn't happen. He was in the hospital. He was stuck there.
Yeah, they would have noticed that he left.
Yeah.
I love that to think that just the logic of, like, if you were infected with a werewolf curse kind of situation, that you would start having these, like, wolf dreams. That is such a cool idea.
Yeah.
It is.
And not only wolf dreams, like, these are violent dreams. And the one that he has about his parents and his home is just like, what the heck's going on?
That one's fucking hilarious to me. The second dream is hilarious to me. You know, it's violent and terrible for him, but for us as the audience, it's hilarious because there's wolves dressed up like Nazis.
Yes. And I gotta say, like, about this scene, that I think this stands out. Like, it didn't need to be in the movie.
No.
It's completely unnecessary for the plot of the movie, but it's one of the most memorable makeup effect scenes, like, somehow, like, just those Nazi war werewolves. I don't know what they are, and they're all different. Like, they're all different characters.
Yeah.
And we get, like, a pretty good throat slit at the end of it as well.
Yeah. And you get a fake out.
False ending. Yeah.
Yes. False wake up.
Like, she, you know, that false wake up is hilarious because he's just like, you know, oh man. And then the wolf comes through the window and stabs her. First of all, it doesn't even, like, eat her. It stabs her to death.
Right. Yes.
And then he wakes up and he's like, holy shit.
Yes, I love that reaction too, because that's just a way more genuine reaction to waking up to something like messed up. Like when you thought that you were awake in your own head, because I've had that I've had that dream of like, oh, I thought I just woke up already.
I had the one time, the one most memorable one I remember having was I had a dream that I was being chased by the shape, and uh, I, was trying to escape him, and then he caught up to me because of course he did. He's the shape, and he like catches me, and I wake up, and I remember sitting in my bedroom, and I'm looking like around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then the closet door opens, and the shape walks out of the closet, and I yell again, and I wake up, and I'm in my bed,
the fake out dream,
and then I was like, that closet's like right over there. And so I just like for the next an hour probably, I just was laying in bed, stared at that closet like I kind of want to get up, but also I do not want to get up. This is when I was little. I was a kid, but that was one of my most memorable fake out dreams.
Yes,
I've never had a fake out dream.
You haven't?
You're lucky.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I've had a couple that were like intense enough that made me wake up and like when I was younger, woke up in tears. I had one about Freddie. He was like chasing me, and I got out of a car and ran up under a bridge, like the big bridges in Peru. I ran up in one, and he was like trying to get me.
I actually did. I just thought
That's
about it,
scary.
but like one of my earliest nightmares that I had was of my aunt turning into a werewolf.
Oh.
At my other aunt's house in Peru, and it was like the scariest thing to me. Like it messed me up for a while. I just didn't even tell anybody about it because I was so scared that she would actually turn into a werewolf. But it was like before I had even seen this or anything. But it might have had something to do with Goosebumps, like
probably.
I saw the Werewolf of Fever Swamp when I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And that
Spooky
was about
stuff.
The scariness level.
Spooky stuff. I know the level. I know what you're talking about. You're just like one step above Big Wolf on campus. So yeah, the in the hospitals when we first get our introduction to Undead Jack. Guys, let's talk about Undead Jack, and let's talk about the amazing makeup job on him.
Let's not even talk about it. We don't even need to talk about it. It's so good. Apparently, I mean, this is a big deal for makeup.
Yeah.
This makeup apparently terrified everyone on set and made people sick.
Well, it's gross.
Was so
he had hanging flesh.
Yes. And apparently it freaked him out. The actor himself, it freaked him out to see himself in that.
Probably.
I can imagine.
Where he
that
was
would be
like,
a mind
told his mom not to watch the movie because it would upset her to see him like actually dead.
Yeah,
wow.
that makeup job is phenomenal. Like when I was watching it today, I kept like just looking.
You have to.
I was like,
to just like
getting all up in there. I'm like, my God, they did such a good job on all this.
Yes, you have to
blending
inspect
it all
that
in.
entire thing. I love the. It's just so seamless around an eye.
Yeah.
I mean,
the piece like,
here. There's a seam there, but you cannot
you can
see it.
Yeah, you can tell it's a little bigger than the rest of his face.
Yeah.
But you don't see the actual seams. So you can tell that's kind of built up, but it's really good. Love it. So Undead Jack, by the way, is hilarious.
Yes.
He is.
Their dialogue, again, is even better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even funnier now.
Yeah, because he's talking to a walking corpse.
Yes. He immediately is like, get the fuck out of here, Jack.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no. Like, he's just panicking. I love that line. Rightfully. I say that line randomly, like,
get the fuck out of here, Jack.
I mean, Jamie, if you came back from the dead and you looked like him, I'd probably close my eyes and ask you to leave too.
This is very crucial, though, these scenes, because this is where we find out that there's a curse connected to it. So all the people that has been killed by this werewolf are undead and walking the earth, essentially. They can't move, they can't pass on. They can't cross over. They're stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
So he's wanting to kill himself.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing this in any other movie. It's a really great concept, but also
it is. Yeah.
Like it makes you wonder, like the person who attacked them, he's obviously killed people before.
Mm-hmm.
Like how long could somebody? Because so one thing that is really great about when he becomes the werewolf, it doesn't change who he is. You know what I mean? Like it's not like sometimes in movies once you like make that transformation, like you as a person, you change as well, right? You become
like
more like
alpha.
Predatory.
Yeah.
Predatory and alpha, and you know, you start lacking that remorse and things like that. But he retains himself. But I just wonder, how long could I live with myself with these corpses walking around, constantly reminding me of, you know, I killed them. Anyway.
I mean, he doesn't remember it, but the thing, but he knows that he did it, and that's a reminder right there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, their banter is great. I also like how he's eating his toast as he's talking to him.
He's dipping it in the egg yolk.
Yeah, just dipping in the yolk, you know, conversing with him, and he's like, you know, you gotta kill yourself. And I love the bit where he's talking about his funeral. And he says, you know, the girl came. And he's like she was crying her eyes out. But then she went and found comfort in the bed of this other guy. And he's like, that guy? Like, it's such like a best friend kind of thing to, you know, talk about. It's really great.
And then, but he's also just like, this has to be in my head. I'm like going through something traumatic. So I'm probably not, like, this probably isn't real. So when they're like warning him and these like phantoms are haunting him and they're like, you need to kill yourself. You need to kill yourself. That's terrifying. And he's like, I can't do that because I don't think this is even real.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is real or not yet.
Yeah.
So then, that's kind of the hospital section in a nutshell. Or those scenes. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, time building up between he and Alex and whatever. Let's talk about the where she's reading to him.
That's so cute. That's such a cute scene. He just wakes up and is just watching her read.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah. Let's talk about the doctor's investigation that he goes on. So he ends up traveling to the slaughtered lamb.
Yeah.
To kind of get some answers. What do you guys think of this scene?
That's when I was like, okay, this guy is cool. Because part of me was like, oh, he's a doctor. He doesn't care. Like, you know, we knew he was kind of like, well, what is wrong here? But it's like, who would go out of their way to actually go investigate? As a doctor, you know, like, he was like, no, the police are satisfied. You're fine. It's fine. You're wrong. You're just you're traumatized. Like, that would be the end of it. But he's like, I am really curious. I'm going to go there.
Well, it's because of how adamant David is about it.
Yeah.
And he has a full-on conversation with him about it a couple different times, and he sees, he could be deluded, but there are things that don't make sense to me. And I don't like unanswered questions. I'm going to get these questions answered. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we'll see what's going on. So I love this scene when he goes into the slaughtered lamb and he's like treated basically the same way that the boys were treated because he's an outsider.
Yep.
And he mentions
they're
it, and they're
expecting
like,
people to come sniffing, and they don't want that at all.
Yeah. So they're, you know, like questioning him and already like put off about it, and you know they pretend like they didn't hear anything about the ruckus that occurred with the boys. And then, like, what happened? I don't know what happened. And the one guy leaves, the dark guy, and he gets booted out of basically booted out of the bar again, like the boys did. And when he's on his way to the car, he sees him standing in the rain. And so he walks over and the guy tells him basically about the werewolf. He tells him that boy's in danger because he is now bit, blah, blah. And the other guy, old guy, just fucking yells at him. Enough! He says. But our doctor got what he needed from it.
Yeah. This is a stretch, but kind of reminds me of some like aspects of Jack Reacher, right? There's that one thing that just does not fit, and I feel like he has that moment where he's like, this just doesn't make sense, and it eats at him till he has to figure it out.
Yeah,
and
you can't let it go.
Really like that about his character. Yeah, he couldn't let it go.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then, so he goes back to the hospital, and he's like, "We need to talk to David because by this point, guys, David has left the hospital and is staying with Alex."
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this apartment scene when she's introducing him to her apartment?
It's so cute.
I mean, it really is. They've got they've also got great chemistry. Now he just comes across as he knows what's about to happen, obviously, but like he's got no interest in seeing her bathroom or her closet. Anyway, but they do have
We've all been there.
good chemistry.
Cool,
but it's a small flat. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. But it's great. Like he's like, there's only one bed. She's like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had 7 lovers in my life. 3 were one night stands. And she's like, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. But I'm gonna go get in the shower. And we have that great cut where he's like whistling to himself, and then we cut to them in the shower. And we get a long sex scene that's there.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we'll get to it later, but I think it is hilarious that they filmed a fake porno to put in this movie.
Yeah, it's hilarious. We'll talk about it in a minute. Yeah. We'll talk about it. But yeah, this sex scene, guys, goes on for a little long, I feel like. Because it's like the length of a full song.
Yeah, right?
The whole song. And I'm like,
it's fine. It's fine. It's a good scene. But you don't want to like watch it with your parents or anything like that,
No.
But, like it's a little long for that.
That's what I'm saying. There's times that that's with your parents or something, that's the worst.
Yeah.
You're just like,
oh man.
No. Oh no.
I watched Clerks 2 with my mom and Nathan Pierce.
Yeah, it's just not the best when there's a sex scene that's like, especially if it's like a raw sex scene and you're just like, oh. Like that one at least is like it's tastefully done and it's like playing music and it's sweet. But there's some where like, can you imagine like watching Monsters Ball with your parents? Halle Berry's just like no.
No.
No. I don't want it. I'm going to take this DVD upstairs later by myself. Don't worry about it.
It's better than watching Speed with your parents.
No, Speed's great.
No, that's an inside joke for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, that version of Speed. Not the... Yeah, that would be awkward. But,
anyway, no one will get that but you.
Yeah, I know. Now I feel like I have to explain it. I recorded Speed off of Cinemax one time. And then, like, afterward, somehow, like, the tape recorded, like, the beginning of, like, some kind of porno. And it edited over, like, a softcore porn, so it edited over the end of Speed. So, literally, Speed, at the end, after they crash through, and she says, I guess we'll have to base our relationship on sex. The tape literally cut to, like, 2 people having sex. Swear to God. It was a total accident, like... And I didn't even know it. I lent it to my buddy. Lent it to Zach. And I was like, hey, Zach, go. Yeah, you can watch this. And he's like, dude, there's something weird that happened at the end of your movie. I was like, what are you talking about, man? And he's like, there's like a porno. I was like, what? So I played it back, and sure enough, it's like, we'll have to base it off sex. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. I'm like, oh my God. Wonderful.
That is perfect.
So I have like the sex version of Speed. That version you don't want to watch with your parents.
The rated X version.
Yeah, yeah. So,
this is where we get the second vision, right?
This is where we get the second vision. After they are done with their lovemaking. Which, by the way, I've got to say, before we move on, the shower scene is what is really funny to me. Them in the shower, because they're just like kind of hugging each other.
Yeah.
In the shower is just so awkward.
I don't know what you're. I mean, I don't know how else you would film that, especially if it's extended.
Yeah.
Without going into like
hilarious.
softcore.
I just love it because it's like he pops up and then his ass is just like right on the screen. He's not afraid of showing his ass, this guy.
No.
So yeah, Jack comes back and, has a full-blown conversation with him in the middle of the living room where he said he looks even worse for wear. He's gray at this point because he's starting to decompose. Greenish gray, just starting to decompose and looks terrible. And hasn't, basically the same conversation. Hey, man, you got to kill yourself because you're going to turn into a werewolf and then you're going to kill more people and create more people like me. So you got to do this.
What's funny is the way that they go into it is that he's like, I got to talk to you. And he's like, oh, no, I know what it is. I'm a werewolf and you're the undead and I have to kill myself. And he's like, yes.
Yeah. Like, you get it.
You got it.
Finally.
It's like
this is where he says it again.
Understands. What are we doing here?
This is where we get another get the fuck out of here, Jack.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, Jack. And then she's like, what? This woman, God bless her. She just takes this young American in and he's having delusions as far as she knows. And she's just like, oh, I think it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not.
She's just trying to, she loves him already. She's in love. And she's just like trying to help him. She's like, I know the best doctors will get you the help. Like, it's fine. Yeah. Just we'll talk through it, Because he's like, I know that I'm crazy. So it's like,
this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. I'm seeing my dead friend, Yeah.
And it's great that he is honest with her.
Yeah, like he doesn't hide it. That's very
good. Too honest sometimes. It's kind of worrying,
Yeah, that's a good thing that he tells her everything that's going on because of the stakes. But yeah, he definitely is just like, saw Jack again, told me I should kill myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. When they were in the hospital and he sees Jack for the first time and Jack leaves and he's crying and calling for the nurse to come in, like frantically. And she comes in and he calmly turns around and is like, I'm a werewolf.
Yeah.
I was like, you were just sobbing. Yeah. He kisses her first.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'm a werewolf. Just nonchalant, whatever.
BT dubs. Lycanthrope. Me.
Man.
This next bit when she leaves and he's at the apartment by himself is really funny.
Yeah. Pre-transformation.
Pre-transformation because he knows that the full moon's coming. So he's afraid that he is going to transform into a werewolf. He keeps looking at himself in the mirror and like going, rah, and stuff.
Yeah.
He locks himself out of the apartment, has to climb back in. And then he's just like, watching TV. TV's weird and sucks because it's like weird English TV, and he has no idea what's going on. And then he's like, goes, messes with some other stuff, opens the fridge and says, "I'm not even hungry." Then goes back to the fridge. "I'm still not even hungry." It's a great little, and it's playing Credence, Bad Moon Rising.
Yes.
And then we get the motherfucking transformation.
This thing is movie gold, dude. It's
oh my gosh,
so good. You know, it kind of first off, it blows a lot of the stuff that happens in today's movies out of the water, and it's the practical effect of it all. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I think the last werewolf movie that we watched, if I'm not mistaken, was
the Wolfman from the 1930s or 1940s.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, I mean, and obviously there's like, you know, several decades that
there's 40 years of advancement. 40 years of advancement.
But it's so good. It's so good. It blows me away even watching it today. It's so good. Can't say it enough.
Good, Lydia. Talk about it.
I got a train on my end.
Oh, we can't hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was muted.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm like waiting for it. Like, come on, go away. I know as soon as I start talking about it, it's gonna. Yeah. Where do we even start? I mean, where do we start with it? I guess at the beginning, but when he's just sitting there, and the. Oh, dang it.
It's all right.
Okay, the music starts to play. The music starts to come on. Blue Moon comes on, right? Or no. Mm-hmm. Is it Blue Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Moon comes on again, like the beginning of the movie. And
yeah, it plays 3 times. Yeah.
Different song. Different singer, but
yeah.
It comes on and he just is sitting there reading a book and he just screams out of nowhere.
Agony. Yeah.
Instant agony. So cool. And then he starts just like, he's like, "I'm burning up," and he starts stripping. Oh man. I mean, how great of a start is that? Just that alone.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I mean, it's much better than Wolfman.
Yeah.
Where he just falls asleep. And it's holding completely still. Yeah, I think this movie just is such a good werewolf movie.
The transformation, the transformation, is phenomenal. Not only because of the technical advancements and the special effects and how great those are, but the story moment for it is phenomenal. Yes. Because this is where he finally realizes, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. And then it's this marvel of makeup effects. My favorite shot is always, my 2 favorite shots from the transformation are always his hand growing and his snout growing. It's so cool. Those are,
I like the legs too.
The legs are cool too. But it's the hand for me is because it's so seamless. And then the snout growing is awesome. Like, what an awesome effect. We see it start to grow. And then the shit is on.
Yeah. I like how they stop and really show you every single thing that's happening.
Yeah, like, the hair is sprouting.
Yeah, I feel like realistically, both the hands would have grown at the same time. Like, the things would have been happening maybe a little bit faster, or, who knows? I have no proof to back this up. But I like how they decide, they make the decision. John Landis makes the decision that he's like, I want, and probably Rick Baker was like, we need to show it all.
Well, that was the thing. They were like, we need to show this transformation, because usually it's the cross dissolves, or he falls behind a couch and he raises up and he's a werewolf, which is a classic way to do it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Oh!
Yes.
But they're like, we want to show this thing. Let's do it. And they did.
And they did it.
They did it.
They did it up.
So these attacks that David goes on are amazing. I mean, the attack with the couple is good. The attack
that couple.
That couple.
My heart breaks for that couple.
Yeah.
Getting attacked by a werewolf.
Yeah, because it's that guy's fault. He should have just went upstairs, but he had to go around back.
Trying to be a fun guy.
Yeah.
Just trying to have a good time.
Trying to have a good time. Costume.
Yeah.
And then
now he's got to be pushing mushrooms. The fun guy joke.
Then the old homeless men get it next. And we, off screen. Now it's completely off screen. And then my favorite sequence of the movie, besides the transformation, is the subway sequence. This is suspense filmmaking at its finest. This is amazing.
Yes.
An amazing
scene. The suspense in this movie is so on point. But this scene is like terror.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. The way that Landis decided to shoot this thing. And the fact that we get, kind of like a little story with this guy himself, kind of get to know him for a second and kind of his mannerisms and stuff. And then he starts being chased by this unseen entity because we don't see it for most of it. We just see the point of view of the wolf. And it's so scary. And then the greatest shot when he goes up the escalator and we see the wolf walking.
Oh yeah.
So cool.
Starts to creep
so far
into
away,
the
too.
picture.
Yeah, it just starts creeping into the picture. So cool, right?
So
yeah, I mean, if sometimes
it's just the
completely
worst situation.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I was going with that. Like, you try to put yourself in the position, like, man, if I were in that position, how would you defend yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what could you do other than trying to find a closet with a metal door that you can't break down? You're kind of screwed.
You need a cane with a silver handle.
There you go. Jamie knows.
Yeah.
This is like kind of like the polar opposite fear of when they are getting chased in the moors too. Yes. Because that is like they're out in the open and don't know which way to go and there's nowhere to hide. And this is like you're in a very enclosed space and nowhere to go.
That's essentially that's what they call the subway in London is the tube. They're in the tube. Yeah. He's in a tube. There's nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. And it's such a great scene. It's like my favorite scene in the movie besides the transformation. I love it so much. I want to just frame that scene on my wall. That's how much I love it. It's so good.
It is.
So then David wakes up and he's in a zoo. There's that cut where he yells and we cut to a lion roaring.
Yes.
It's a good cut. This is where basically in this section David's kind of realized what's going on. There's a really funny scene where he's naked and he's trying to get hey kid, give me your balloon.
Yeah. He's like, I'll give you £1 for your balloons.
Yeah, totally not creepy. It's fine.
Yeah, and then he's like, the kid's like, nah. And he's like, I'll give you £2. And he's like, okay. This kid. We could go on and on about this kid and his reaction and the mom's reaction and the year this was filmed and the year we're in now and like compare all these things because it's wild that this kid is like just finds it completely entertaining that this happens to him.
Yeah. I mean, 1981 is when this came out, so it was probably shot in 1980. So 1981 was a different year.
Yes.
It's now.
And it's in London where like things are just different. They're their comedy, their humor, like just like little social things are just different than they are in America. So it's like And I think that's a great fear too, of like
being a fish out of water. Yeah.
Yes, traveling and not knowing, how you're going to be taken anywhere you go. Such a cool idea. Ugh, what a good movie, guys.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
It's a good one. So then they
I also love how after he takes the balloons and he's running through the zoo, he like steals that lady's coat.
Yes,
steals the coat.
He's like a blur across the
Yep.
camera. He was running so fast. I love that.
Steals the
That
coat.
kid just smiles. Like, that kid just like smirks.
He thinks it's great. He thinks it's great.
The mom is like, what?
So at this point, they're looking for David. The police are, because the doctor has told them, we need to find him because what you said didn't happen. But more importantly, no, I don't believe that werewolves exist, but I believe that he believes they do. I mean, that's very important. I believe that he believes they do exist, and I don't want him to hurt himself or somebody else because he might be having suicidal thoughts to try to end his curse, and he might think he actually is, because he said when he went to the pub, he experienced a mass delusion, essentially. So David at this point is on the run from the cops. He's also on the run from Alex, who he encounters and takes off. Then there's this really sweet scene where he decides he calls his parents.
Yeah, did we skip? Because he went back home, and he was like, because at this point, he knows, he knows, but he hasn't like come to terms with it.
Yeah,
that it's reality.
Denial.
Yeah, because he goes back and she's like, "Where have you been?" And he's like, "Oh, you won't believe this. I woke up in a zoo." Yeah. And then he's all like, "I feel great. Let's do it." And she's like, "No, I need you to come to the hospital with me. They want to talk to you." And they get in the car, and then the taxi driver's like, "Oh, just see all the murders that happened."
Yeah.
And that's whenever
he
the
splits.
reality set in, and he's like freaking out. He runs up to a cop and tries to insult him.
Get himself arrested.
Short of physically assaulting him, he verbally assaulted him.
Calls him a bunch of names. Yeah.
He starts saying the queen is a transvestite or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a little really funny. But yeah, and then this leads into, you're right, this is really heartbreaking. Go ahead with what you're going to say about this.
Yeah. This scene is really sad. He calls to talk to his parents because he's come to terms with what's happened and he decides he wants to kill himself. Yeah. So he talks to his parents, or he goes to call his parents, and they're not home. He talks to his little sister, and he has like a conversation with her and tells her that he loves her, and to tell his parents that he loves them. And she doesn't understand why. She just thinks this is really weird. And it's because he knows that one way or another, he's not leaving London.
Yeah.
So then he pulls out the knife and goes to slit his wrist, but he can't. What do you guys think of this scene?
Yeah.
This was definitely one of the two scenes that I mentioned earlier. This is the first one.
It's definitely emotional. It's upsetting. It is kind of funny at the same time because of the sister's reaction to like, why?
Yeah, there's humor in all.
You can't hear what she's saying at all, but you can tell by his reaction what she's saying.
Well, right? Having siblings, I know exactly what she's saying.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I love you and I love everybody, and she's just like, what?
Yeah, he's like,
no, sure, whatever.
You little creep,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he basically says, "Tell mom and dad, don't forget. Tell mom and dad." And then she says she loves him too. Mm-hmm. And then he leaves, and he goes across the street and he sees Corpse Jack standing in front of a porno theater and beckons him inside. And so he goes he goes to the booth. This is my favorite. He's like, how much is it? It says how much it is right on top. He's like, how much is it? She's like, it's, £2.85. Do you see it? It's right there. And yeah, Derek, you're right. They filmed like a fake porno for this scene. And there's a hilarious scene during this where they're doing it. This random dude walks in. He's like, I told you not to do this. And he's like, you never told me. Not you, her. Who are? I don't know who you are. Oh.
I've never seen you before.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh. It just walks out. And you're just
he's like, yeah.
So funny. And I love how
so silly and weird.
I like how he's watching it and he says, good movie. And Jack's like, And at this point, he's a completely rotted corpse. He's like a skeleton. Yeah. He's a puppet at this point.
Yep.
I love there's a part where he scratches his nose like he's got an itch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just because they wanted to show off the puppet hand that they built.
Show that it's a hand. Yeah, to give it life. So yeah, he scratches his nose and then basically introduces him to the people he murdered. And the couple are like, oh, they're really nice. The one dude's like, I am not happy because now my wife is a widow and my children are grown up without a father. All because you wouldn't do what needed to be done. Oh, and then there's the three homeless guys. They're all telling him to kill himself, and he's like, I don't know how to do it. And they're like, and so then they start giving suggestions, and he's like, what if I hang myself? And Jack says, no, because you could mess it up and you could just hurt and strangle to death. And he's like, what would be wrong with that? And he's like, hey, this is a very good friend of mine. He's like, I don't want him to suffer. And this is when he says, Jack, why are you doing this to me? And that the subway guy says, he's not. He's your very good friend. He doesn't want any of this to happen to you. But I'm not. And I don't want to walk around here forever. So you've got to end it. And then, what do you guys think of that bit before we get to the next part?
It's so intense.
The banter. Go ahead, Lydia.
Yeah, no, you're right. The banter is really good.
Really funny, yeah. So funny bits and then some intense bits, obviously. Yeah. When they're going through...
So British.
When they're going through the ways to kill him, is really funny. They're like...
that's the so British part, because she was like,
like,
why don't you shoot yourself in the
and he's like, oh yeah, do the mouth. You won't miss that way. Drowning! One guy says before we cut away, drowning!
I thought that was so dark, them listing off the ways. It's
they're dead.
It is.
It's freaky. It's freaky.
And
it is freaky. You're right.
So he does not kill himself, and he transforms again. And
if you're putting yourself in his position and you know that it's going to happen and your dead friend beckons you to an adult theater, don't you think that there are more productive places or less productive places that you could go that you would be less likely to kill somebody?
I guess because he's still a noob at this, he's not really thinking about it. Because we all know,
that is true.
I guess because we're kind of used to Larry Talbot in the sequels of the Wolfman. He's like, okay, the full moon's coming. You need to lock me up and put me in this cell because this bad news is. And they're like, we're not going to lock you up, idiot. And he's like, just lock me up. No. And then of course he inevitably turns into a werewolf because people don't listen to him. So he's like a noob at this, I guess the best way to say it. He's not thinking about it. He's trying to process all of this other stuff. But yeah, you're right. If I thought there was a case that might happen, I'd be like, lock me in a cellar or something, until we can figure out how
to, as far away from town as possible,
how we can cure me or what have you. So he transforms, and this poor usher gets the brunt of it first, and then some other movie theater workers just and moviegoers don't get the don't feel too good after his transformation.
So at first when the usher is standing next to him, I'm like, it felt like that guy came over to be like, "Hey, what are you doing back here?" You know what I mean? Anybody else pick up on that? I thought it was
Well, he probably was like, are you?
you're disturbing the peace.
Yeah, in my theater, in
I'm
the
sure,
back of
but
it
he
by
didn't say
yourself.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah. They probably have people working there that are like, just in case,
you
like
need a
security
hand.
like that.
Yeah, well, no, I
No,
think
not
he
like
was
that. Not
no,
like that.
I think he was there to make sure he wasn't, going going full Rubens back there.
Full Paul Rubin.
Didn't
So
want to go
saying?
full Rubens. So yeah, but yeah, this transformation is quicker, this one, but we still get a couple of really cool shots. We get the shot of his fingernails protruding out.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
It's really great. And then we see the wolf in all of its glory. What do you guys think of the actual wolf?
So cool.
I actually have a small critique.
What's that?
I think his hair looks too poodle like Shih Tzu like maybe. I feel like the hair is so fine and okay, if you get rid of the snarling face and the like, you just feel like you want to pet him.
Oh, he's very soft. He has a nice, well groomed mane. Yeah.
Anyway, but his face, he's terrifying.
Yeah, I think he looks really good. I like the way he moves. It's really unique and interesting because he's like real down low and he like waddles almost because he's like a tank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a little tank, which is pretty cool. Um, and then we get this whole climax. What do you guys think of this climax? First of all, John Landis is just in love with crashing cars.
Dude, I'm
That's what
telling
he
you.
does. That's what he does. And so he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'll make the wolf run into London so we can just crash a shitload of cars." Because that's what happens.
At one point, one of the
Yes.
cars just straight up runs over somebody. You see
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like,
We get that dummy ran over. Yep.
There are
yeah,
so
like three or four
many
people get blown out the window.
very, very detailed crashes in this shot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many packed into this shot. I was telling Jake, I was like, I wish I was scared right now, but I'm just like enjoying this scene so much.
Oh, the car crash.
Like I wish it scared me, but it's just so fun to watch and think about how they choreograph that.
Uh-huh.
Amazing. I mean, and then you get you burst off. The wolf, bursts out of the thing and tears a guy's head off.
It's the inspector. It's the inspector. Yeah,
man.
it rips his head right off.
And it bounces off the hood of a car, and then you just get chaos. Beautiful.
So now he's ahead of the game.
Yeah. He definitely is. David as the werewolf starts just going, basically he's just trying to escape essentially. So all this chaos what's funny is all the chaos that he causes, besides the guy's head that he ripped off, is not him tearing people apart. He's just there and people are crashing essentially, which starts the whole chaos. And the doctor and Alex are on their way because they think it's David. They don't know that he's a werewolf still. They're like, but there's some kind of disturbance with a big dog, and they're like, oh my god, that's David. They finally have pieced that maybe he is a werewolf. So we go there and we get the final stand. What do you guys think of the ending of the movie, the final stand?
It's heartbreaking.
It's sad, very sad.
It really is, because
we kind of skipped over the fact that they told each other that they loved each other.
Oh, well, yes, they did.
Which is kind of important to this.
He did.
Yeah,
he did, but she didn't. Right.
Yeah, he was like, I love you. And that was whenever he tried to get away from her.
Mm-hmm.
After he realized that it was that.
That it was him, that he was the murderer.
Yeah. And when she gets there, The only thing she wants to do is see him. So she like busts through this line of cops, knocks a couple of them over,
Yeah.
and she goes down this dark alley
by herself.
And, yeah, this is when she says that she loves him, and it's super heartbreaking.
And he recognizes. You see, the wolf recognizes her.
The snarl kind of unfurrows.
Yeah, and then he lunges at her, and he's shot down. Which, by the way, those cops were way far away. That is incredibly unsafe to be firing a gun with a civilian right in between you.
Yeah.
Not only that, but she could have moved over a little bit.
She was. How did she not get hit?
Yeah, I was always like,
they must have sharpshooters on the
London police force.
Don't love that. Don't love that. That
there's no
blocking.
wind in the alley.
Yeah, don't love that blocking, but it's fine. It ends tragically. He's shot. The doctor goes through and sees that it's David laying there, with the bullet in him, and he's dead. She sees him, and then we cut to David, and we just out with Blue Moon. What do you guys think of that ending? Like, just to be out just like that.
Heartbreaking. It's like
I remember
now
it
what?
was extremely abrupt.
Yeah. It's like, now what? Like, what do they tell people? Like, what are they supposed to tell people? There were witnesses that there was a big wolf, and then they're going to be like, oh, it's just a crazy guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to put the genie back in the bottle, right? I mean, it's like something,
like, we want to know more.
Yeah, something happened here. I love the ending because it is a downer. Because but it's also kind of needed to be.
Yeah.
But it's like just so abrupt. Like, once the story's over, David's dead, the werewolf curse is broken because he was the last one of this line, at least. And it's done. So we don't get an epilogue. Some movies might want to give us some kind of epilogue of her moving on, or of them even in the afterlife, like they're free. In a cheesier movie, we'd see them being, you know what I mean? Being taken up or David and Jack standing together, Obi-Wan style.
Right, yeah.
It would have been really cool. No, that's actually really good. Like, it would have been really cool if, like, whenever they went to they like panned out and they like moved the camera and you just saw the two of them walking down the street, like, away together. That would have been kind of cool, but it does end kind of abruptly. And
yeah, I think it ends the way it should, because we don't need.
Where else are you going to take it?
Yeah, we don't need that stuff. I mean, we get David's gone. End. The curse is broken. He's free of his curse, essentially. So it's sad, but not, because he's free of the curse. Nobody else is going to be killed, and his victims can cross over. So it's the thing that needed to happen.
Here's what I think happened. I think she is pregnant with a litter.
Oh my god.
Get out of here, Fly 2.
You know what I think? Happened?
What?
I think the ambulance shows up and takes him and resuscitates him and saves his life. But the curse was killed when he was killed, and they brought him back, and now he's okay without a curse. Like Harry Potter style.
Oh my god. So that's your idea, huh?
Yeah.
Just because that's a happier way. Here's what I think happens is about 30 years later, well, not quite 30, almost 30 years later, 27, 26 to be exact, they make a sequel where there's werewolves in Paris. So my ending's the darkest of all of them.
Yeah, that's not a great one. I like my ending.
At least they like created an out for their character.
Yeah, well, that's what they did it because they're cowards.
Well, because they didn't have a choice. They couldn't have just did the same movie.
Same movie, yeah. But that is American Werewolf in London. So, Lydia, let's get your rating and what you thought of it.
I'm gonna just give this movie a 10. I think I've gushed over it enough. I think it's brilliant and it's beautiful. I think honestly, I think it might not be for everyone because it is like I don't know, is it slow? Is it dry? Is it like there's something about it that like Jake can't seem to keep an interest, while it's on. He's like trying to look at his phone and like pay attention to the movie. So there's something about it that I don't think it's for everyone, but it's definitely worth just for the transformation scene alone, and the subway scene to watch it. He was definitely invested in those parts. So, but for me, it's a 10, it's a classic, it's beautiful, and this is always going to be on my rotation to watch this one.
Derek.
I'm going to give this movie an 8.5. And here's why it doesn't get a 10. So it's got one of, like, I'm trying really hard to think of one that really rivals it. It's got one of the best werewolf transformation scenes. I can only imagine that they won awards for that scene.
Well, they won an Oscar. The special effects Oscar was created for this movie.
Yep.
Makeup effects Oscar was created for this movie.
I mean, it had to be groundbreaking. I mean, not only that, but like the first time that you see Jack, like, and the skin is coming off of his face, you're just like, it's kind of, I mean, we are way more sanitized to it now.
Desensitized? Yeah.
Desensitized. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
I mean, we are sanitized too. We keep ourselves clean.
We do. But we've seen this movie over the past 30 years. We've seen other movies like it. But could you imagine being an audience member and seeing that for the very first time in a theater? Like that had to be a little bit jarring. So I am not shocked at all. And that's amazing that they created a whole new subsection of awards.
Yeah, it was the first ever Best Makeup
honor
award
this movie.
Was to this movie. Rick Baker.
Because they pushed it forward. They pushed the industry forward with this movie. But I do think that at times it was a little slow. And that is also kind of its charm, but it can be a detriment as well. So it could have been a little bit more fast paced. But it's a very, very solid movie. It's a classic movie. So I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9.5. It's a 9.5. I'm not giving it a 10 because I feel like I've thrown out a bunch of 10s recently.
Just do it. Just do it.
So, and yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It is a 10. I give it a 10. I like the slowness of it. I think the pacing is great.
Me too.
I think that it puts you into the mood of what the movie's wanting you to feel, but it's never boring because you're invested in the characters by that point. So you kind of want to see what they're going to do next. I think the performances across the board are pretty solid, very good. I think Griffin Dunn is amazing in the movie. I think he steals the show. I think he's the best in the movie. So yeah, it's a great one. Special effects, of course, the makeup effects are next level. Rick Baker's work is phenomenal, and this movie is also very influential just in the werewolf genre itself because of some of the tropes that it put in. Now everybody wants to do a transformation scene, but nobody's ever topped this one, which is pretty funny. There's a pretty good one in The Howling. The Howling has a pretty damn good werewolf transformation. And then the stuff from the Wolfman, Universal's remake of the Wolfman, is pretty good when we actually see the non-CG stuff. When we see Rick Baker's actual Wolfman makeup, it's phenomenal. But none of them have ever quite reached this level. This is the the classic werewolf movie so far. We'll see. We'll see what happens next with the werewolf genre.
Yes. Have you guys seen? Oh, go ahead with your. Well, you.
I already
did it. Okay.
I would say
have
that
seen...
I have. Oh, go ahead, Lydia. Sorry.
I watched the transformation in Hemlock Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
That one was pretty dang good.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good ones.
CG.
They do all the time now. Yeah.
But
one of the worst.
Real nice.
One of the my least favorites. Well, there's a couple. But in Van Helsing, it's not the best. He's kind of rips the skin off.
Right? It's real
CG
quick.
skin.
But that's different because
that's
not
a comic
werewolf.
book fun. No, he's a wolf man. Yeah.
That was just Dracula, wasn't it?
No, when he turns into the wolf man.
Van Helsing turns
into a wolf man.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Just rips his skin off.
That was a cool werewolf, though.
Yeah, the werewolf looked fucking fantastic. We have to watch that sometime. What were you gonna say, Derek?
I was gonna say I've seen better wolves, like werewolves, but I don't think I've ever seen a better transformation into one.
The wolf in Jack Nicholson's Wolf is pretty good too. It's a pretty good one. The Mike Nichols movie with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Mm-hmm.
Made in the 90s. Remember that one?
Barely, but I
know it
at least
exists.
Remember seeing. Yeah, I remember seeing commercials for it, trailers.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I've ever seen the movie.
Then there's the Ginger Snaps movies as well.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Yeah. Derek and I watched those back in the day, actually. When they came out, we rented them. We rented them, actually expecting it not to be very good, and it was pretty good. And we're like, oh, wow, never mind. So, Derek, it is your pick, but before we get into that, it's time to Akanize American Werewolf in London.
Thrill me.
Who would Tom Atkins play in this movie? There's one guy I can think of.
The Doctor.
The Doctor, yeah. The actor is great, but he has to be British. Maybe he can just be an American doctor that's there.
He could do
an accent, of course. Yeah. I say the Doctor. What do you think, Derek?
You're muted.
You're muted, by the way.
Once.
We almost got through the whole episode. Almost.
Almost. Man, this one's really hard. Because you would want to make him. I would want to make him the police officer. Because all the other characters are so good. Like, I wouldn't replace the Doctor. I think the Doctor like nailed his.
Yeah, he's great. He is great.
You know.
But that's because you haven't seen Tom Atkins playing.
That is also true. You don't know. I'm gonna stick with the police officer. I'm gonna typecast Tom.
Yeah, I'm tired of casting him as cops. I'm going with the Doctor.
When have we cast him as a doctor in anything?
Yeah. Except for when we do Halloween 3. So, Derek, it is your pick for this next week. What are we watching?
Oh, man. This was a hard one. I think I'm going to go Rawhead Rex on this one.
No,
I'm kidding. We're gonna keep with. I am. I'm trying to really stress Jamie out. He's like, no, I can't do it again.
I can't do that goddamn movie again.
Well, guys, we won't be here next week. It'll just be Derek.
So I watched Rawhead Rex. It was terrible. This is Scream Bloody Movies.
We are gonna keep with the werewolf genre. And hopefully we haven't done this movie. We've done a lot of movies. I don't know if you realize this.
We've only done one werewolf movie. Only one werewolf. Two.
All right.
3 now. 2 if you count Besides this one, we've done Wolfman and Trick or Treat, which has werewolves in them.
Ah, yeah, okay. Well, we're going to keep with the werewolf theme, and we're going to go with Stephen King's classic Silver Bullet.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay,
It's
I
a
don't
good
think I've
pick.
ever seen that.
You've never seen Silver Bullet?
I know.
Oh, good. I've seen it multiple times.
I love watching ones that we haven't seen.
Almost as much as I've seen this one. Not quite as much, but close to. All right. That's a good one.
Holy cow, we're a bunch of werewolfers now.
Yeah, we are. Now I'm probably going to have to pick a werewolf movie just to continue the streak. We do have to, next, when this airs, the fall, actually, no, it's already happened. We'll have passed Friday the 13th by the time this airs. Because Friday the 13th is this coming Friday.
Oh, dang.
Mm.
We missed it, guys.
Yep.
Hey, before we go, do you guys want to hear my spider story?
What's your spider story?
Okay, so I was driving to get some Taco Bell today. And on the way back, I just happened to look down, and there was this like dime-sized black spider that was just like crawling on my console next to my like gear shift. And then he like went around my gear shift, and then he came down, and I'm like, then he went in between some papers, and I tried to smash him, and he didn't. So then he jumped onto my seat. So luckily, I made it back, and I don't even know why I was like scared. I'm like 100 billion times bigger than this little spider, and he's not poisonous. But like when he jumped in my seat, I'm like, my butt's off the seat. I'm like trying to unbuckle my seatbelt and open the door and get out. And I mean, you'd have thought it was a tarantula or something. But anyway,
yes. Was it a jumper?
Yes, it was a jumping spider.
I love those. I love the black jumping spiders.
Yeah, he got away. He's lurking in my car somewhere. He's going to eat my foot, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I always, whenever there's a spider in the house, Sarah comes and gets me, and then I catch them and throw them outside. That way they eat the insects.
Well, like I don't know. It like I knew he wasn't poisonous, but it's just like that little voice in your.
Sometimes if you just see one, your instinct fear comes up. Like I was down in the basement the other day doing laundry, and I saw him like over in the corner, just hanging there, and he was a big guy, and I was like, oh. I went up and grabbed the paper towel. I was like, got to catch him because if Sarah comes down here, she's going to have a fucking heart attack. So grabbed him, threw him outside. Sarah was never the wiser until she watches this episode. Now she's going to know.
Yeah.
But we already established she doesn't watch these.
She's
never going to know.
Okay, so listen to this. So yesterday, me and Sarah were sitting on the porch talking, and I'm sitting there, and a big spider crawls off of my sleeve onto my hand and just sits there, and I was like, like I just like flung my hand, almost broke my finger on the table because I flung my hand so hard. The spider lands on the ground, and Sarah's sitting there like screaming.
That's what she does. That's what she does.
She was like, okay. And I was like, okay, it's just sitting over here on the ground. I'm cool. I'm not really afraid of spiders. I just don't want them on me. Yeah. And it starts like walking like toward in her direction. And so we're trying to keep an eye on it. And I was like, oh, I don't see it anymore. And then she looks down and it's by her foot or something. And she screams and gets up and runs in the house.
That's what she does. She just, oh, like it's like you see on like cartoons. She's that person. Waving the arms. Oh.
I was like, Sarah, that thing was on my hand. And it was like a weird flat spider.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know.
Guys.
I don't even know. It was flat.
Welcome to our new podcast, Green Bloody Spiders. Where we just...
Oh, you better believe when I got home, I Googled it to see what type it was.
I almost did that.
Are you going to change your pick to arachnophobia now?
No, but well, man, I haven't seen that movie in like since like the early 90s.
We'll do it.
mid-90s.
We'll do it.
Right?
I have it.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It came out in like 94 or something like that. What do you have it on VHS?
No, I have it on Blu-ray. I seeked that one out, man, because I wanted to see it so bad. I seeked it out. It's one of my favorites. So, anything else you guys want to add?
That is all the spider stories I have.
That's all the spider stories that we have. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on social media on Facebook at HiLa Productions, where you'll get all the updates for the upcoming premiere, which by the time this airs will be 4 days from there. So you'll see how to get your tickets if you're in our area. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe the episode on YouTube. You can find us on HiLaProductions.com, where we have all of the updates and the show listings. You can follow us on Twitter. Follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky, Derek at DDogLeeMaster, and me at Racket. If there's nothing else, I think we're going to sign off. So beware that full moon, and remember this. You guys want to do the poem with me?
Beware the stare of Mary Shaw.
You know the
Is that
poem.
what we're doing?
The Wolfman poem that is in 45
Dude, I don't
minutes.
remember that. Do it. Do you have it?
Shoot.
Oh, God.
I haven't heard it in like, 8 months. We should go ahead if you got it. Pull it up there.
It's
They only
even
said
a
it
man
like
that's
12
pure at
times.
heart, even the man that's pure at heart and says his prayers at night will become a wolf when the wolfman blooms and the autumn moon is bright. So keep that in mind when we pack up your silver bullets for next week. For Lydia Judy and Derek LeMaster, I'm Jimmy Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.